Hello Shudder lovers. Today I'm breaking down this newly released Indonesian horror movie that's based on real events that actually happened, and honestly, still happen today. The movie is called Penggantian Iblis, which means the demon's bride. Now don't get confused with Penggantian Setan because these are totally different movies. One is called Devil's Bride and the one I'm explaining today is the demon's bride. The movie starts with text on screen that describes this ritual where a woman gets married to the devil. In return, the devil gives her wealth and health. The text explains that this ritual still happens in society today, and the story we're about to see is based on one of these true events. However, they changed the names and locations for the movie. After this, we see this ritual being done by a shaman on a woman named Rati. During the ritual, Rati gets bathed in blood and has to eat a piece of raw meat. Don't think this is just your typical Indonesian horror movie. The ending here is way more terrifying than anything you might expect. Once the ritual is done, Rati is back in her bed when this horrifying demon suddenly shows up in front of her. The scene cuts here. The story then goes back a few days earlier. We see Ranti again, this time going to her family's meat shop with her sister-in-law Siti and her sister-in-law Gita. Now about Ranti's family, there are 7 people total. Her husband is Bowo, and they have a daughter named Mina, who sadly can't walk because her legs are weak. Bowo's younger brother is Bayu, who's married to Siti. Along with them lives their sister Gita, and they all stay together with their mother. At the meat shop, we find out that Siti is pregnant. Being Ranti's sister-in-law, Siti doesn't like her at all. She often gets annoyed because Ranti makes her work, which leads to fights all the time. Something pretty common in families. Later, when they get back home, breakfast isn't ready. Everyone blames Ranti for this, saying that as the oldest, she should have cooked before leaving. Feeling cornered, Rati goes to the kitchen and starts cooking, while hearing her family members talking bad about her and criticizing her. This really hurts her, but she stays quiet. Meanwhile, Mina gets ready to go to school. Since she can't walk, Gita offers to take her. Just then, Ranti's mother-in-law shows up, angrily scolding her and saying that as the mother, Ranti should be the one taking Mina to school. But Ranti had deliveries to make for the shop, and her husband Bowo also needed to be dropped off at the shipyard since he works as a sailor and was about to leave for a month. Hearing her mother-in-law's insults once again, Ranti feels frustrated and helpless. Still, she drops her husband off. On the way, she complains to him about the constant insults she gets from his family. She tells him she wishes they could live separately, but Bowo explains that staying together is better, especially since there are many people at home to help look after Nina when Ranti is away. Ranti then asks him, "What if someone insults me for no reason? Will you stand up for me?" To this, Bowo tells her that yes, he will defend her. After dropping him off, Ranti goes to the market to buy vegetables and later delivers some meat orders. Meanwhile, Bayu, her brother-in-law, uses the money Bowo gave him to gamble on cockfights instead of spending it responsibly. This was really stupid, especially since their household was already struggling with money. When Ranti gets back home, she finds her mother-in-law crying. Worried, she asks what happened, and that's when she gets heartbreaking news. Nina has been in an accident. Ranti rushes to the hospital, where Gita tells her that Nina was hit by a car. The doctor tells her that Nina's condition is really bad and her chances of surviving are very low. They need to start surgery right away. Hearing this, Ranti breaks down crying. That night, while sitting alone, this old woman comes up to her and offers her some food. The woman strangely tells her that Nina will get better soon. Shocked, Ranti asks how she even knows about Nina being in the hospital. The woman just says she heard about it. Then she adds that there's a way to save Nina, but Ranti has to trust her. After saying this, the woman leaves a piece of paper with her and quietly walks away. Just then, Gita shows up and asks about the old lady, but Ranti decides not to tell her anything. The next day, the doctor tells Ranti that Nina urgently needs brain surgery. The chances of survival were low, though there was still a tiny bit of hope. Nina talked about the surgery at home, but the operation needed 10 million Indonesian rupiah, which is about 52,000 Indian rupees. Unfortunately, their money situation was really bad. When she mentioned it to the family, her mother-in-law and others refused to take responsibility. At this point, Ranti suggested selling the house, but Bayu immediately said no, saying he couldn't do that. He had to think about his wife and unborn child too. Her mother-in-law then reminded them that they needed to wait for Bo's opinion. That was nearly impossible because Bo was at sea, and he had no idea what had happened to Nina. Waiting for him could mean losing Nina's life. Still, no one listened to Ranti. Ranti went to her room and tried calling her husband, but the call never went through. She left him a message, but even that didn't get delivered. Just then, her sister-in-law Gita came in, said sorry, and tried to comfort her. Gita was the only one who really understood her, and Ranti trusted her. But comfort alone wasn't enough. Nina's life depended on money, and Ranti had no choices left. She remembered the note from the mysterious woman, and decided to visit her. There, the same ritual from the beginning was done. This ritual was meant to make her the bride of a demon, and that was exactly why the film was called Demon's Bride. Becoming the demon's bride came with a heavy price. The girl who agreed to it would lose herself completely. The ritual went exactly like it had earlier. The shaman then put Ranti on a bridal bed, telling her to accept that from tonight, her body and soul would belong to the demon. Every day and every night ahead would be his. With that, she became his bride. Soon after, the terrifying demon appeared and grabbed her from behind, forcing himself on her like a husband would with a wife. It was deeply shocking because Ranti wasn't an unmarried girl. She was a married woman with a daughter, but she sacrificed herself only to save her child. The shaman then warned her that to keep her daughter alive, she had to give weekly offerings to the demon. These offerings would include the head and liver of a rooster. Starting that very night, the next scene moved to Bayou, looking for his favorite rooster, Rocky, which he often used for fights. He couldn't find it anywhere that morning. In truth, Ranti had already sacrificed it to the demon the night before. Later, Bayou's mother suggested visiting Nina at the hospital, since they hadn't gone in several days. But Bayou and City refused, showing how selfish they were. Even though Bo used to send them money, they still showed no gratitude, not even toward their sister-in-law or her daughter. They just said they would visit tomorrow, making excuses by saying Nina had little chance of surviving anyway. Suddenly, Ranti appeared, bringing Nina home, completely healthy. Everyone was stunned. If she had surgery, how could she recover so quickly? The doctor had said her survival chances were very low. This made City suspicious that Ranti might have used dark magic. Nina was walking around like nothing had. He was confronted by Nina, who now suspected her mother of killing City. Meanwhile, Bayou buried his wife, heartbroken. As he mourned, Ranti suddenly appeared and lured him into the chicken shed. Bayou followed, but she attacked him. Possessed by the demon, she gouged out one of his eyes and threw him into a cage, where a rooster pecked out his remaining eye, leaving him blind. Stumbling in agony, Bayou crashed into a wall. At that moment, the broken roof collapsed, slicing through his neck and killing him instantly. Hearing the noise, Gita rushed to the shed and caught sight of Ranti before noticing Bayou's lifeless body. Naturally, suspicion fell on Ranti. Terrified, she locked herself in her room, while Gita demanded answers. Ranti could only tell her that she was the only one in the family she truly cared for. She begged Gita to stay quiet, warning that if she pushed further, the demon might harm her too. Fearing the consequences, Gita dropped the matter. The next day, she buried Bayou's body as well, but she was deeply troubled and told her mother that they needed to call Mr. Haji, a man who knew about black magic and the supernatural. Her mother dismissed the idea, insisting they wait until Bo returned. Even now, she preferred her elder son's opinion over action. Meanwhile, Nina watched her mother acting more and more crazy. Disturbed by her behavior, she talked to Gita, who finally convinced her mother to agree to bring in Mr. Haji. Gita's mother finally agreed to call Mr. Haji. The next day, he arrived at the house, though the family didn't tell him about the recent deaths. He examined Ranti, and she nodded along to his words. He asked for a glass of water, over which he began saying prayers, but the glass suddenly shattered on its own, something caused by the demon inside Ranti. Still, Haji told her to pray, and told both her mother-in-law and Gita to join as well, saying this was the only solution. He told them that everything was fine, and that Ranti was perfectly normal. But of course, we knew that was far from the truth. Soon after, Bo finally returned home. He was told about everything that had happened, but he refused to believe that his wife Ranti could be responsible for so many deaths. To him, she was incapable of such horrors, yet the events around them couldn't be denied. Even Nina admitted that her mother was no longer the same. She said that since the day she had recovered, her mother's behavior had changed drastically, and Nina feared it was somehow her fault. Bo comforted her, insisting she was not to blame. Later, Bo tried to speak with Ranti, but she shut the door in his face, saying she didn't want to talk. That night, as he slept on the sofa, strange sounds came from her room. Soft moans. Curious and uneasy, Bo looked inside, only to see his wife in bed with a demon. Horrified, he backed away in shock. The next day, Nina brought food to her mother, and saw that Ranti had been tied down to prevent her from hurting anyone. Her condition was worse than ever. Her appearance was terrifying, as though the demon had fully taken her soul. Ranti begged her daughter to untie her, but before Nina could act, her grandmother pulled her away. Meanwhile, Gita and Bo went to the hospital to look for the mysterious woman Gita had once seen talking with Ranti. Gita was certain everything had started after that meeting, but they couldn't find her anywhere. Back at the house, Nina heard her mother's voice softly humming her favorite song. Thinking it was truly her, Nina entered the room, only to discover it was the demon tricking her. He asked her to get something, and when she returned, her mother was gone. Then she heard her grandmother's voice calling, but when she approached, she found her grandmother dead. The demon had killed her too. At that moment, Gita and Bo returned home, only to break down in tears at the sight of their mother's body. Panicked, Gita went looking for Nina, but Ranti appeared, moving toward her threateningly. Gita hit her on the head with a plate, sticking a shard into her skull, but Ranti calmly pulled it out without harm. The demon's presence made her body invulnerable. Ranti attacked Gita, slamming her head against the floor until she was unconscious. She didn't kill her though, because Ranti still cared deeply for her. When Gita tried again, stabbing her with large scissors, it had no effect. Instead, Ranti overpowered her and left her unconscious once more. She then turned to Bo, attacking him viciously with the scissors. Desperate, Bo begged her to recognize him, but the demon, speaking through her, declared that she was no longer his wife. She now belonged to the demon. Pretending to be moved, she drew closer, only to twist Bo's neck a full 360 degrees, killing him instantly. It had all been a cruel trick. Nina witnessed this horror and was seized by Ranti, but Gita, regaining consciousness, struck back at her sister. Ranti grabbed her by the throat and nearly killed her, but Nina shouted that this was not her mother. She screamed that she hated her, that if her mother had truly been good, she would never have done such things. Nina blamed herself, saying everything had happened because of her, because her mother had wanted to heal her legs. To prove her point, she prepared to cut off her own legs. In that moment, inside her own body, Ranti's trapped spirit heard her daughter's voice. Enslaved in the demon's realm, she wept until Nina's cries awakened her. Finally, Ranti fought back, regaining control of her body. Seeing the devastation she had caused, she broke down in grief, realizing she had destroyed her own family. Ranti begged Gita to take Nina far away, beyond the demon's reach. At first, Gita refused, but Ranti swore it was the only way to save them. If Nina stayed, the demon would kill everyone. Reluctantly, Gita agreed. With her last act, Ranti doused herself in fuel and set her body on fire, ending her own life to stop the demon. Gita and Nina fled the house, watched from a distance by Mr. Haji, but the story didn't end there. In a post-credit scene, we saw Gita and Nina living in a run-down house. Food was placed on the table, but both were too afraid to eat. Suddenly, a noise came from the wardrobe, which began to shake violently. Gita opened it and found Ranti's bridal dress inside, the very one she had worn for the demon. This revealed that the curse was far from over. The dress itself seemed cursed, ensuring that the demon would always return to claim anyone who wore it. It suggested that Nina might still be tied to the demon, for the original deal had been made for her survival. As long as Nina lived, the demon's presence would remain. The final scene hinted that the demon might one day return to possess Nina, or perhaps even Gita, who had survived when no one else had. The shaman's betrayal also seemed clear. Perhaps she had been the demon's bride before, now too old to serve, and had tricked Ranti into taking her place. And with that chilling thought, the film Pendant in Iblis, The Demon's Bride, came to an end. So friends, this was the complete story of the movie. I hope you understood it well and enjoyed the explanation. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Also, tell me in the comments which part of this movie you found the most interesting and which movie explanation you want to see next. Tell me in the comments. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay mysteriously had ever happened. She shared her doubts with Bayou, but he only said it was good news. At least they wouldn't have to sell the house now. From then on, City noticed that Ranti kept herself locked inside her room with windows and doors shut, which was weird, since she had never done that before. But the truth was clear. She had become the demon's bride, and the demon had claimed her body. Ranti's own spirit was now trapped in the demon's world. One day, City came into the house and found Ranti sitting in total darkness, staring at a TV screen that showed nothing. When she asked why she was acting so strangely, Ranti only laughed loudly without answering. Shocked, City left the room. Soon after, she heard a knock at the back door. Opening it, she saw Ranti standing there with Nina. This confused her completely. Hadn't she just seen Ranti inside moments ago? That night, City talked to Geeta about her suspicions. She explained how Ranti always stayed in darkness, and even bathed at night. Geeta dismissed it as normal, saying there was nothing wrong with bathing at night. But City said she had seen two versions of Ranti. Geeta brushed it off as her imagination. Later that night, while City was sleeping, Bayu woke her up, demanding food. This was ridiculous. She was pregnant and resting, yet he wanted her to cook. Still, she went to boil water. Just then, a frog jumped into the pot, which she quickly removed. Before she could recover, she heard strange noises from the bathroom. Peeking in, she saw Ranti bathing in a disturbing way. Curious, she secretly recorded a video through the gap under the door. To her shock, it wasn't just bathing. Ranti was doing something with the demon in a disgusting act of intimacy. City spread this video around the market, hoping to embarrass Ranti, since she already disliked her. When Ranti came out and saw City, she stared at her coldly before leaving. Later, when City checked the bathroom, it was completely dry, as if no one had bathed there at all. This was even weirder. The next day at the market, Ranti's strange video had gone viral. Everyone had seen it, and soon she found out as well. Furious, she came after City with a knife, and grabbed her by the throat. When City admitted that she was the one who had spread the video, Ranti was even more enraged. City made fun of her instead of saying sorry, which only made things worse. Ranti asked if City really thought she could embarrass her in front of everyone. City boldly asked whether she planned to kill her in public. Hearing this, Ranti let her go, but warned her that she had talked way too much, and would have to face punishment for it. That night, City went to bed where Bayu was waiting, and again he told her to cook. Annoyed but obedient, she went to the kitchen. There, she found noodles already boiling, prepared by Ranti earlier. To her horror, Ranti pulled a dead frog out of the pot, and ate it right in front of her. Shocked and disturbed, City could hardly process what she had seen. A little later, she made fresh noodles and brought them to Bayu, but when she lifted the blanket, instead of her husband, it was Ranti waiting underneath. She strangled City to death, and cut the unborn child from her womb, killing both mother and baby. This was the terrible price Ranti had once warned of. The demon, who had taken her as his bride, was the one truly responsible. The next morning, Bayu came back home. The man City had seen earlier wasn't him at all, but the demon disguised in his form, living within Ranti. Bayu found no trace of City, not even blood in their bedroom. When he asked about her, no one could give an answer. The family thought she had run away after the heated argument with Ranti at the market. Bayu's mother blamed Ranti for everything before everyone left for the day. Alone in the house, Ranti's mother-in-law nearly had her wheelchair pulled backward by an unseen force. She locked the wheels just in time, barely avoiding a deadly accident. Later that night, Geeta stepped outside and noticed a plant growing near a pit, the very place where Ranti had been making sacrifices. As she turned away, she heard faint cries for help. It was City's voice. Alarmed, she switched on her phone camera and pointed it toward the plant, where the cries grew louder, turning into sobs. Meanwhile, Nina's toy had rolled into the bathroom. When she went inside to get it, Ranti suddenly came out of the bathtub. Terrified, Nina screamed, and hearing her, Geeta rushed inside. But by then, the scene had disappeared. All that remained was City's spirit, trapped in pain. Geeta found Nina in tears, begging to sleep with her that night. The next day, when Ranti went to make another offering, she found a body buried under the plant. It was City's corpse. Horrified, she ran to the shaman who had led the ritual. The shaman explained that from the moment the ritual was done, the demon had accepted her as his wife. A husband protects his bride, and so the demon would destroy anyone who threatened her. When Ranti begged for a solution, the shaman told her that nothing could be done. Once married to the demon, she would belong to him forever. Hearing this, Ranti left in despair, realizing the ritual had only destroyed her family. It even seemed possible that the shaman had planned Nina's accident to trap Ranti into the ritual in the first place. Knowing the family's money problems and fights, maybe it was all part of a calculated plan. Now filled with regret, Ranti could do nothing but live with the curse. She had no other options, with her family refusing to sell the house and unable to reach her husband, Bo. Meanwhile, Bayu was at another cockfight when he suddenly saw City's spirit. Thinking it was her, he followed, but she disappeared. His friend interrupted, telling him his rooster had lost and Bayu had lost money. It seemed City's spirit was trying to warn him about the demon and Ranti. Later that night, at home, Bayu dug in the ground and found a hand reaching out. It was City's. He recognized it right away as his wife's. Overcome with grief and rage, he demanded answers from Nina about her mother, Ranti. Hearing his cries, Ranti appeared. Enraged, Bayu confronted her, accusing her of murdering his wife. He carried City's body into the house, crying uncontrollably. Geeta stepped in, calming him and pulling Ranti away, but Bayu's mother insisted that City's body be buried again to keep the family's honor intact. She cared more about reputation than truth. Back in her room, Ranti was confronted by Nina, who now suspected her mother of